My name is Ben Thompson. I'm the art director on Hearthstone.
So Ben, talk about what you announced here at BlizzCon 2017.
We were super excited to announce Kobolds Catacombs as the latest expansion and the last in the Year of the Mammoth for Hearthstone. It's going to be a super exciting run with 135 new cards, and even more importantly, possibly, is the new single-player mode of the dungeon run in place of the older mission content. It's a mode we're super excited about. We think that it's going to be something that is infinitely replayable by most of the people who play it, and provide some interesting opportunities for deck building and such with players of all kinds, new and old.
So as the art director, talk about what are some of the challenges in making a game that has both old art from Warcraft and brand new art.
Well, from day one, Hearthstone was always intended to be a game for everyone, and in response to that, the artwork also has to really be attractive to both people who've played World of Warcraft for a very long time and people who are new to the World of Warcraft via Hearthstone as well. That had us land on a very charming and whimsical style. It's one that's very approachable, it feels very friendly. It's one that's very exciting to make, as well as input into the game, so that people, when they interface with things like cards and there's a lot of numbers and things like that, it's done in such a way where it feels bite-sized and feels very approachable.
Talk about how you go through creating a theme for each expansion, because that's got to be fun. I mean, I've seen a lot of golds, yellows, the kobolds, of course.
Sure. I mean, every expansion we end up getting a bunch of people in a room and throwing around a bunch of ideas. Many bad ones, some good ones, and we end up coming up with the one that everybody's just most excited about. For the case of Kobolds and Catacombs, really we knew we wanted this to be a treasure set. We knew we wanted to introduce legendary weapons for the very first time. We knew that loot and the ideas behind that really was going to be a major vibe for the set. And as a result, kobolds themselves and the catacombs that they dwell in presented themselves as a massive opportunity to discover all of those things. And it was also kind of fun to think of a dungeon run, also playing to the catacombs, centering around the lowest level of the life forms that live in there, rather than the big epic, bosses and stuff like that. Though there will be them as well.
The fodder on the way to the boss.
Absolutely. Start with the scrubs, work your way up.
So you can take us through the process of, saying Blizzard we need a Kobold concept, for Hearthstone, from start to finish. Talk about how your process is.
Well, WoW's done a great job in the past of coming up with the Kobolds at all. I mean, they were really a fun race. It's one that everybody remembers from vanilla WoW all the way into current day. So there wasn't a lot to do in terms of exploring what they are, but there was a lot of work on our end to figure out, okay, we know what certain ranges of Kobolds look like. Let's now blow that out. Let's figure out the widest end of that cone. So getting the magic users in, getting the king of the Kobolds himself and King Togwaggle, figuring out what they look like and how they operate. And that's where it really got to be a lot of fun, I think, exploring the world and building on what was already so well established by Warcraft before us.
So talk about what it's like making characters that have, you don't have to stay true to proportion or anatomy or stuff like that. You can completely have fun with a lot of the stuff.
Well, I mean, kobolds are still humanoid, right? So they're still 2 arms, 2 legs, and the like, and they are being the veritable tunnel rats of Azeroth. There's going to be a certain kind of, skirmy, skeevy quality to them as they're, tunneling in and out of the warrens within the earth. So there's certainly a look and a feel, again, established by Warcraft in a very fun way, but we get to play a little bit more with that as well as maybe you go deep enough and you start to get blind kobolds, and they've got a little bit of that never seen the light of day. Certainly the candles themselves taking multiple forms. Is it always just one candle? We had early concepts where the necromancer has 3 or 4 candles because they each kind of play to different magics, maybe, who knows. King Togwaggle himself has discovered through his introspective and thought process, putting a lantern on top of the candle keeps it from being blown out pretty easily. And there's a little bit more secrets behind where that lantern came from and what brought him to that idea.
Do you have a favorite legendary weapon and why?
I think probably at this point I would say Alaneth. Why would be because it's giving a weapon to a class that's never had a weapon before. As a mage weapon, that's kind of new and interesting. It's one thing to give a legendary weapon to a warrior or say a rogue who's used to getting weapons, but what does a mage do with a weapon? And the kind of the interesting chaos that can come from the deck construction around that idea was a really challenging one, not just for the design team, but then ultimately for the player as you build decks around these things.
So what are some of the challenges when creating new items that maybe have a background in lore but have never been seen visually?
Well, Alaneth has actually been seen visually, but yes, there are some weapons that will come in that we'll be seeing for the first time. It's a problem that we've dealt with in the past. It's not necessarily a new one if you think of Whispers of the Old Gods, where we introduced at least one of the gods who'd never been seen before. So working with the WoW team to really discuss some of those things, as we did with Old Gods, and really figuring out what are the weapons that people are most attached to if they've spent time in World of Warcraft. And if there's not really a one-to-one weapon for that class in World of Warcraft, what kind of weapon could we introduce that feels right and it feels like it belongs in both worlds simultaneously?
When does this expansion come out?
Next month. We're looking at December. We can't be more excited to get it in everybody's hands, and we look forward to seeing what people do with all the new deck types and meta that will follow.